Welcome to Ring Talk, the Goodwin Boxing weekly show with myself, Martin Theobald, and head of Goodwin Boxing, Steve Goodwin. How are you, Steve?
I'm very good, Matt. Very good. Very good. Now, we're busy, as you know, and a lot to look forward to over the next month with 3 shows. So we're working on a lot, signing new boxers, creating new opportunities, and other bits and bobs. So it's really good.
Yeah, we're not going to touch on it tonight, but that October the 12th card that you've got coming up, you and I were just discussing, is probably the best non-TV show, not just of yours, but probably of all time in the UK. Like the fights are so well matched, the titles on offer are plentiful and meaningful as well. There are so many of them on that card that it's ridiculous.
Do you know we've got 9 fights now with all fighters with positive records?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And we were sort of saying, if you're going to match those up and sort of price those up, which they won't be matched and priced, but if you were, the odds on sort of even the widest odds would be like closer than most TV shows for the main events.
For sure. But there's a chance, they might price that up, that card, I think. There is a chance.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, there's some brilliant fights on there. There's some brilliant fights coming up next weekend when you've got Linus Udofia looking to become 2 times English middleweight champion. So we'll come on to that next week and preview that. But you've also got a show this weekend down at York Hall. Make sure you get tickets. Go and find tickets for those because it's worth getting to. We'll come on to this weekend and we can get tickets for that. But prior to that, we're just going to touch on the world of boxing. And it was sort of inspired by a conversation you and I were having about the difficulties boxers have at the moment in a cost of living crisis. The difficulties of just selling tickets. And it's always the hardest thing in boxing, the hardest thing for a small hall boxer. They always say it's not training, it's not getting in the ring, it's not their relationship to their manager, their promoter, their trainer. It's selling tickets. It's getting out and selling your quantity of tickets that you need to be able to fight. And that's getting harder, isn't it? It's not an easy thing to do at the best of times.
For sure.
And it certainly isn't now.
No, for sure. And I think, and the demands that when boxers are going on TV shows, some promoters are now expecting really high levels of sales, which the boxers are going to struggle to get. It's a difficult world out there because, people have lived through high interest rates and even going out for a meal now, the cost now compared to 4 years ago is astronomically different. And people now, I think, go out for meals more as a luxury than they have to think about it. And I think going to boxing is a bit like that. So boxers, I think, have got a really hard time selling. And if you take the product it doesn't help when the UK boxing product let's cut out the Riyadh and Turkey Al Sheikh, totally different. The rest of it, Eddie Hearn doesn't seem that fussed about it. Sky aren't signing anybody. Frank Warren is the only one to be actively signing British fighters and trying to put on shows. The only one. The product generally, I think, is as poor as it's been for as long as I can remember now, to be honest. And that doesn't help filter through down, because if people are not getting good TV shows, then they're not, you've got to remember, Sky have got the biggest viewership figures. The BT show is lower. The Zone, I'm not sure what their numbers are, but Sky have got the big viewing figures and they're not putting anything on.
Yeah, and you sort of I think some of those televised fighters that end up on small hall shows, maybe the ones that have taken a loss on a televised show come back on small hall shows. Those televised shows just aren't really happening. The DAZN schedule is pretty sparse in terms of you've got Cattrall Prograis lined up. I think underneath that you've got Reece Bellotti, Michael Gomez, and you've got Ellis Scottley on that card. And then they've got Johnny Fisher, Andre Rudenko. I mean, that's a headline of a DAZN show. It's a garbage fight. I don't know what's on the undercard of it. But that is sort of the DAZN standard schedule if you take away what's going to be the pay-per-view things. Sky, no schedule upcoming. The boxing season's just coming back to life. They've got nothing. TNT, Frank Warren, they've got the Sam Noakes card coming up, haven't they? They've just had Bentley Asaze. So they are, as you say, they're signing people like Sam Gilly just signed to them. But they haven't got a packed schedule across the UK at the moment. And maybe those schedules will come out in due course, through to the end of December. But it's nothing. It's pretty barren.
It's a shame. It's poor. It's poor.
Yeah, it's all sort of moving up.
Hope things are going to change. Let's hope things are going to change. We're doing our best but again, we don't have the budgets they have. I mean, I wish I had the budgets they had. We could put on amazing shows.
Yeah, and again, you go back to what that October the 12th show will be. Quite why that isn't picked up by a TNT Sport, a Sky Sports, a DAZN, as something, and I realise it clashes with Bitervia Bivol. Maybe that's a really justifiable reason why it isn't.
Yeah.
But even if it didn't, I'm pretty sure still nobody would pick it up. But why not? Why not fill a date in those schedules? It's a strange one to me. But going back then to that issue, that core issue of selling tickets for fighters. I mean, are you seeing that it squeezes the ticket sales on Goodwin shows?
We've got some good sellers this weekend, but I think we've had more pullouts with boxers either pulling out with ticket sales or suffering injuries. But when a boxer pulls out of injury, sometimes it can mean it was lack of ticket sales because I just don't want to admit that. But yeah, we're seeing. I mean, we started off with 10, we went down, we refilled, we went down, we refilled, and we still went down. So we've got 7 fights this Saturday, which when we can only do 10 fights at your call. But as I was saying, with the ones that refilled and went, we've had about 10 or 11 pullouts. Because as we lost 3, we refilled it, and we lost it, and we refilled it. So we've had more fights pull off in total with the boxers going on and off than we have actually got fighting. That's nuts. How are you supposed to exist as a promoter when that happens? So you do have to turn around as a promoter on a promotion base. Look at if somebody keeps pulling out, and you do have to turn around and say, I'm really sorry, no more. We got to let you go. Because if somebody continued, we've got one fighter that's done it 3 times. And you've got to say that's enough now, because they obviously keep trying to sell, can't sell. You either, or you are the most injury-prone boxer that's ever laced your gloves on. Either way, you can't do that when you're limited to 10 fights a show. So promoters aren't going to be more ruthless with the boxers they have on. If you've got to be reliable to get on these shows from now on, that's how it's going to be.
Yeah, and I mean, either way, whether it is injuries, whether it is tickets, I've got a sympathy for that person entirely. Like neither is a good scenario for your career.
I feel sorry for them. I do, but
it's a business.
But if it keeps happening, you can't afford. It costs money every time. You can't keep doing. So unfortunately, they've got to be honest and go, this isn't for them.
Have you seen any more fighters looking to go on the road in that scenario? I mean, there's a living out there for fighters that are willing to go on the road.
I've had a couple of new journeymen turn over recently to go on the road. So, yeah, but switching over from being a home fighter to a journeyman, not for a while, hasn't really happened. Not happened with me anyway. But we tend to find a way for them. And even if they're struggling with sales, we'll put them in, as long as they've done enough, we'll put them in 50-50s and see if they can make it that way. So I think that's sort of what you try to do. You try and, but that's boxers that are honest. They'll ring up and say, I'm having trouble with tickets. What can we do? And then you can explain it. But if the boxer doesn't tell you they got a problem and carries on pulling out, you can't really help them then.
Yeah. So coming on to this weekend show then. So you've got 7 fights that have made it through.
Yeah.
Still got a few days till Saturday comes, so hopefully you'll still have 7 by then.
Look, it looks fairly safe now, but we've got some really great talent. There's actually some amazing talent on the show, and it's still going to be a great night. And some of these kids are really, really talented, and you can go there and still enjoy your boxing and see some real exciting talent for the future. It's a really good card. I'll run through them with you. Mikey Sakyi obviously he's English champion. What he did was Mikey decided to relinquish the title because the mandatory that he was given wasn't going to make any financial sense for him. So obviously we're hoping that we can build Mikey after this fight towards a British title shot. he's out fighting Christian Lopez Flores. He's doing a 6-rounder, Mikey, but it's really about just a keep tick over fight, and then we try and find him a major fight for December. So, but Mikey Sakyi is always exciting to watch. Great fighter.
How do you move him towards a British title? Is it easier to do that without a belt than it is with in some scenarios?
It's better with a belt, but it's got to make some sort of sense. I mean, you know, the super lightweight division which he is in, he has a chance of navigating. He is now an undefeated English champion. And so therefore he's got claims now to go further forward. Maybe not straight there, but a final eliminator, something like that. So we're just going to try and get this fight out of the way and then see what there is available. But it's a stacked division, but he's got a chance of moving forward. There's no point, Mike. He doesn't do it for the money. He's got a very, very, very good job. He's a surveyor, and he does it because he wants to try and achieve a crack somewhere at the British title. So it's got to mean something for him. There's no point in fighting a fight that doesn't get him anywhere, if you follow me. So that's really what it's about. So when I say doesn't get him anywhere, take a fight that doesn't get him anywhere and puts him in real danger.
Yeah.
So it's all right having a warm-up fight, but there's no point in going in a really hard fight that doesn't achieve anything. He's past that. He's past that now. But he's out. He's actually on first to get his fight out of the way. We've got, I'll go through, we've got two really exciting debut boys fighting. That's Jamie Bradley and Meshack Quailey, which I'll come on to at the end. Secondly, I'll talk about Ellis Steward from the Terry Steward camp. We've got Brad Paul's British champion. We've got Linus Udofia, God willing, soon to be 2-time English champion. And then we got Ellis Steward, 8-0 and making really good moves, really improving. He has his hardest fight to take to date. He takes on Mike Byles, who's got a 50-50 record. It's a proper fight for him, but he's going to have to, we do need to see him progress now. He's done 8, so he needs to fight somebody who's coming to win, and Byles will be coming to win. So it's going to be a really cracking fight.
And that's his second 6-rounder, isn't it, Ellis? I mean, his first one didn't go 6, but...
Yeah. But I think, you know, it's a proper fight for him, but we've got to see where he is. He's improving. But he's 25 now. It's time to make the moves towards the area title and do the normal progression we do. But there's no point in keeping fighting boxers with long losing records, because I think we've done that part. So we've got to start moving. So depending on what happens Saturday will depend on where we move him and how fast we move him next. But we've got high hopes, and I'm sure that stable will have another champion very soon on top of after Linus. So with any luck, they may all hold titles at the same time. You never know. Yeah. So that's really exciting to see him back. Giorgio Isaila is a welterweight trained by Anton Paddington, who I've got real high hopes for. He won by stoppage in his last fight. He got his first stoppage. He moves up to 6 now, and he fights Fons Alexander. Not that I think you're stopping Fons, because he's one of the toughest on the circuit. But Giorgio is a really good talent, and we're just building him. He's 3-0. We're just building him and building him and building him. But if you're there and watch him, you are going to watch a real super talent in action. So really great to see Giorgio.
So this will be Fonz's 177th fight. He's been stopped 6 times.
You've got to be.
So when you say you're not stopping Fons, you're not stopping Fons.
Unless you've got dynamite in your hands. And I mean,
yeah.
and Giorgio is more of a boxer than a puncher. So I'm not expecting, although he did win by stoppage in his last fight, I'm not expecting him to stop Fons, but I'm still expecting him to put on a masterclass of boxing.
If we're sat here next week and Giorgio has done that, then I'm going to go and put some money on Giorgio being a world champion in the not too distant future.
Yeah, you can do that. Super middleweight Ed Chattey, trained by Matt Hurst. He boxed really well in his debut. He takes on Robbie Chapman on Saturday. Robbie, who gives everybody a good test. But Ed's, he only had around, I think it was 11 or 12 amateurs. So I think he won the majority of them, and he's decent. But we've got, again, we're building him from scratch. But he's very talented again, and I've got high hopes for him. So, you know, I think he's going to do well in the future.
A special mention for Robbie. I don't know if you ever watch any of them. The videos he does on Facebook after his fights. Robbie's a journeyman. Robbie's had 11 wins. He started off on the home corner. When you said earlier about those that sort of went on the road, Robbie's probably one of the last, I guess, that you've had that started home, went away. 40 losses, 7 draws. But he does little videos after his fights. And given that he can be fighting every week sometimes or every other week, he just pulls together little clips of sort of, and then talks through what's going on in the ring. And I find them fascinating sometimes. I know he started doing corners as well now, hasn't he, Rob?
Yeah.
He's a real boxing brain. I like him.
No, he's very clever. He'd make a great trainer one day if he wants to do it.
Yeah.
Tom Simmons is a heavyweight that's coming actually down to cruiserweight, but he's not there yet. So he's having to box at heavyweight here. He's fighting Jake Darnell. But Tom really, he's more of a bridgerweight. You know, he's one of those bridgerweight people. He's too small to mix it with the real top heavyweights, but he's struggling to get down to cruiserweight. So we're going to have to do it gradually. But I'm hoping to see him get down to cruiserweight next year, and that's when we'll go for titles with him. And he takes on Jake Darnell. He also won by stoppage in his last fight, so he's all action and exciting to watch. So if you're there, once again, watch Tom, because he's not a boring, plodding heavyweight. He really tries to bring lots of action and high output and everything like that.
The bridgerweight hasn't quite made its way down into the small halls yet.
Not yet. And there's not enough. There probably won't be enough journeymen. There's not enough journeymen at cruiserweight or heavyweight, let alone adding bridgerweight in.
No, some made-up division by the WBC because a boy got bitten by a dog. Anyway,
and finally, the two debuts. Going to start with a lad called Jamie Bradley. The only thing that's wrong with him is he supports Tottenham.
He's a great lad. He's a great lad. I love Jamie. I've always supported him.
And he's got a big support base. He was very smart because he didn't turn pro until he got Tottenham supporters behind him. So he built up his fan base before he turned pro. So when he's turned pro, he's already got. I mean, I'll tell you what he did next week, but he's the biggest ticket seller on the show, and he's a very smart. He knows exactly what he should be doing. So he's not just turning pro thinking he's built his fan base before he started, which I'm very impressed with. And so good luck to him. And he's basically going top of the bill last on. He's fighting Paul Scaife, but Jamie's going to be there bringing the actual atmosphere when he fights will be electric, I think. So really looking forward to seeing him have his debut.
I hope his defence is better than ours was at Newcastle at the weekend.
Can't be worse.
Turn off like Romero did for their second goal, Jamie, please.
Can't be worse. Or the Declan Rice thing where we got robbed by a dodgy ref.
No, don't kick the ball away. It's the simplest thing.
But then the other guy should have been sacked for kicking him.
Didn't kick him. He took a free kick. Declan Rice kicked the ball. All you've got to do, Declan, is not do anything. It couldn't be.
To be fair, he did kick the ball away, so on the letter of the law, he should get sent off. But the referee should have done João Pedro and loads of others. I've never seen a ref, right? Before I go on to the last fight, if you didn't, I don't believe referees are biased or anything like that. But if you ever thought a referee was crooked, that day, I've never seen anything like it. Virtually every 50-50 decision went Brighton's way, and you're thinking, this is so... But it was that bad. The referee was shockingly bad. But Arsenal should have put the game away beforehand, and they didn't deserve to win. So it's just how it was. But yeah, but at least our defence isn't leaking as bad as yours. Although their second goal the Brighton goal was pretty bad through the middle of the fence. But anyway, apart from that, I'm going to excuse him being the Tottenham supporter on Saturday, and I'm going to be cheering on and watching him and hoping he puts on a good show.
Yeah.
And finally, the fight before him, South London's Meshack Quailey, also now trained by Matthew Hurst. So Matthew's got 2 on. I mean, by the way, Jamie used to be a boxer at Finchley, which used to be the Anthony Joshua gym. So he comes out of a good Finchley stable. Meshack is South London's done a lot of sparring with John Harding Jr., Zach Shelley, people like that over in West London. And he's got his debut against Victor Dagger, who's a lot better than his record suggests and capable. But, I mean, it's a really interesting card because Meshack has got a good fan base behind him. He's exciting to watch. So there's a lot of talent on board on Saturday. So I think it's going to be a great show to watch. Good, fun show. before we move on to the big title fights in the 2 shows coming up afterwards. But overall, be a good fun night on Saturday.
Yeah, it will. And again, it sort of comes back to, we've discussed it before, but those big nights of title fights, both next weekend and October the 12th, they don't happen without these nights happening. And these are the development stages. These are the ones where people get their opportunity to shine. They're incentivized to do better than everybody else on the card because they want to be on those bigger cards. So yeah, for anyone down there, make sure you're hanging around to see everybody because there is that incentive to do better. There is that incentive to sort of shine because then it gives you the opportunity to go on and be on the even bigger cards.
Exactly that.
So what time do the doors open at your call, Steve?
Doors open 5:30, first bout 6:30. Show should be over by 9:30. So it's not a long show, but so you can make sure you get there for the three hours. That's roughly what it lasts for, and you have a really good fun, good enjoyable 3 hours of boxing on Saturday.
Yeah, brilliant. We were saying earlier about how hard it is to sell tickets, but 3 hours of enjoyment too long. Get in, get out, see the show, see some talent, and have a good evening.
Exactly.
Brilliant. So yeah, get down your call Saturday and enjoy those. We'll come back next week and we'll preview the show for the week after, which has the 2 title fights on it. In the meantime, the world of boxing slowly churns. Not a lot happens. But it'll happen Saturday night at York Hall. So make sure you're down there. Enjoy that. And Steve, enjoy it. Have a good week.
Thanks to you, mate. We'll catch up next week.
Brill. Take care.
See you later.
Bye-bye.